Greetings from Lausanne. I'm very happy today to be joined by Mr. Takeshi Niinami, the CEO of Suntory Holdings. Niinami-san asked me to address him as Tak, and so I will do so in the next few minutes. Tak, thank you very much for joining us. Very brief introduction on Suntory Group. I read two definitions. I read one that said Suntory Group is a global leader in consumer packaged goods, producing and distributing a uniquely diverse portfolio of beverages, premium spirits, beer and wine, and wellness products throughout the world. I also read another definition, which was multifaceted beverage and liquor company growing globally. So let me try my summary of the activities. I think of you as one of the largest companies in the world in the spirits industry, but from what I've been able to see, the spirits side is less than 50% of your revenues. And then I think of you, of course, as a group that's growing globally, but with still a very strong base in Japan, which still makes a little bit more, I think, than 50% of your revenues. Is that a fair summary?
Thank you, President Manzoni. Yes, it's pretty fair. And we are now trying to be more globalized, putting more resources to overseas markets like Asia, North America, and Europe. But still, we are a pretty small player comparing to Nestle, Coke. But in the area of spirits, we are number 3 in the world because of the acquisition of Beam, now called Beam Suntory.
Tak, you've been CEO of Suntory Holdings for 7 years. You were the first CEO coming outside of the family. We're going to come back to this. The family had founded the business back in the 19th century, late 19th century. So it was a company with deep roots and deep tradition. So first outsider to lead this business. You were brought in just as the company indeed had completed a very major acquisition. We'll come back on this. Before joining Suntory, you had already had a very successful career. You'd been president of CEO of Lawson, Japan's second largest convenience store chain for more than a decade. And also you had ran a hospital food joint venture between Mitsubishi and Sodexo. Voilà. So let me immediately get to Suntory Holdings because, of course, in Japan, extremely well-known company, and some of us are in the rest of the world also having heard of the company, but what we may not be aware of is the philosophy and the tradition of the company, which I know is quite significant and quite well thought through. So can you please comment on the philosophy of the company, the purpose, and this tradition that you joined a number of years ago?
Thank you, President Manzoni. When I joined the Suntory, I thought that what is the core value of Suntory? That is carried over 120 years from the founder, Shinjiro Tori. We call the founder's spirit. That is always try to do something new and get it always done with the tenacious effort. Always creative, always bring something new to the community. And second founder's spirit is giving back to society. So from the beginning of the Suntory, the founder always took care of the society, community. And the community gives us always everlasting business opportunity. So we have to live with the community. So give back to society is the first and the foremost. That's why we could survive through the difficult times. But anyway, we can survive because of the huge support from the community. So those ideas from the founder are very important for me too, as CEO, even though I'm from outside. So always we think to start from giving back to society. what's wrong we are doing. And we have to be transparent. We have to communicate with our society, frankly, and get the feedback from society and take action. So everything starts from the founder's spirit. That's Suntory. And I like it. That's why I joined Suntory. And our products needs always natural water. So we created our vision to live with nature, and we think more of natural water. So we are committed to society that we will replenish water which we used to produce our products more than we used.
Let me come back to you becoming the CEO of this company with 100 and I guess 10 years at the time of tradition, first non-family member to become the CEO. Tell us about the challenge as you saw it, and tell us also about some of the key decisions that you made, some of the key ideas that you decided to put into place in order to be successful in that situation.
I've been working with the incumbent chairman, Saji, who is from the family. We've been doing business together. I mean, Lawson then was one of the big clients of Suntory. But beyond that relation, we talked about lots of things for 5 years. And he convinced me the value of Suntory. And I decided to join Suntory because of him, because of his stories about Suntory for, more than 100 years. Why Suntory continued to do business. And the reason why is pretty simple, to be always with the society. And that idea attracted me so much. So I joined. But I didn't know anything about family business, even though Suntory is huge. But a family-owned business is totally, completely different than Lawson, which was listed at the Tokyo Stock Exchange. First of all, long term, it's obvious. But based on their strong mindset to keep their value, core value, which is founder's spirit. But I started to learn that value in detail by talking to even the rank and file, plus corporate executives, and even clients, so that I got to know the value. So I was very much a good student about the founding spirit. And I was a spearhead to talk about the value of founder's spirit to those companies which Suntory acquired. And as well as I think, revisiting effect for Japanese employees as well. And the founding spirit was more or less just air or water, kind of for free, take it for granted. But we revisited the value again, together with the core, management people. We have to think about again, go back to the basic, because we had acquired Beam, and how to go into the successful integration. What is the core part of the integration? So we redefined the value of the founding spirit together with the other people, obviously including the founding families too.
So what I'm hearing is, look, I spent a lot of time learning the tradition. I spent a lot of time embedding myself and really understanding where they were coming from. And then I also engaged all these parties in a revisiting, in a maybe modernization of this heritage. So let's keep the principles, but then let's let's somehow reinvent some of the practices and some of the words that we use. Is that a fair way of characterizing what you did?
Exactly. That was, I think, welcome by all of the senior management people. The reason is we invested hugely to the United States company, which is called a Beam, because we spent as much as $16.5 billion.
At the time, the third largest acquisition, I think, ever by a Japanese company abroad. And also Beam was larger than Suntory, I think, in some spirit segment. So a very sizable acquisition indeed.
Exactly. So, and this acquisition created and shared the crisis feeling because we were heavily indebted. And then it was more or less easier for me to raise attention to the going back to basic, like founding spirit. Let's think about what if Shinjiro Torii is a founder, what he would do if this happened.
I'm hearing two things. Again, I'm hearing it's about going back to the principles and saying, I'm still aligned with the founder's perspective, but what would he say today? How would he phrase it today? And then I'm also hearing, I took advantage of this big acquisition, which A, forced us to ask ourselves, what are we going to tell the Beam people? How do we describe our philosophy? But also, we're raising the performance requirements because of the debt. So I think this is something that clever leaders do. They use circumstances to help accelerate their agenda.
Totally agree. That's right. And that's why I created a corporate university. That's called the Suntory University. And I brought the senior management from Beam to Tokyo. And I created the opportunity for both parties, Japanese unit and American unit, to work together, to learn what it means. I mean, founder's spirit, what it means. They visited natural water sanctuary, for example, to feel it. What is the feel of the giving back to society? And they learned the history of lots of innovations and a lot of failures. But what is the value of the failures and successes from history, working together? And that created lots of dialogue between two parties. And then those senior management went back to States and they talked about what they learned and they felt through the experiences with the Suntory in Japan. And they became the evangelists to talk about the value of Suntory. So it's not straightforward. It's through their experience. So, and automatically, they started to make Beam Suntory. But that took us more than 3 years. And we sent some people, not to the senior management, to the middle management.
I wanted to ask you if you sent people to the US, but you said not at the top, at middle management.
I found that the middle management in the United States company like Beam, US company like Beam, more or less, kind of weaker than our structure. But the middle management is a big trigger to do something new, to bridge between senior management and rank and file, right? So those people became the leaders to do something new, to change the culture of Beam. Because Beam was listed when we acquired, and then they listed. In our structure, they are all same. More or less, we call Gemba, quality production site, and commercial. They are above the headquarters function because they are touch point with the consumers. They are producing good quality. Without those efforts, we can't make money. We can't continue our business. So the order should be upside down. So we sent the middle management to production quality and commercial to support those people. And we gave our message. Hey, you guys are, foremost everything for us to create the businesses and continue our businesses instead of the headquarters in Chicago. There was a huge tension between Tokyo and Chicago, by the way. But that's our culture.
Very interesting, this focus on middle management. Recently, I was part of a conversation where one executive said, middle management is like permafrost. It's like stuck. And another one said, I prefer to think of them as the magic middle. And I thought this was such a nice expression, magic middle, because it's what you say. You say, look, sometimes these people are stuck between a rock and a hard place, but if we manage to empower them and give them an appealing vision to pursue, they can do wonders.
Totally, that's what happened. These people sent from Tokyo, they played a key role to bridge between senior management and people in the field. And that function is a prerequisite. And for the success of integration, they played a really important role.
Let me ask one final question on Beam, and then I want to ask one question about alcohol as a category. But so you said it took 3 years. We worked hard at it. How did you personally manage the balance between driving for progress and breathing deep, to be patient, to not brutalize the organization too much? If we pull on a flower, it doesn't make them grow faster, right? So how did you manage your own desire for more speed with the need for patience?
Oh, that's a great question. I wanted to be in a hurry, and I wanted to demonstrate my capability and my talent to the shareholder, the founding family. Quite natural for me too. And I was so much tempted. So I wanted to manage and govern entire Beam by myself instead of the CEO. However, there are some factors. One, bourbon itself is a spirit of American people. So Japanese leader went there and did something to give the hard time to American employees, Beam people. That would cause lots of problems. So I thought it would be a serious problem for us to do by a Japanese leader. So I esteemed local management to avoid fatal problem or fatal issue, because it's a U.S., not the Japanese culture, U.S. culture. However, I could not make any concession about the core value, which is our founding spirit. So the foundation of Suntory should be transit and transformed to Beam. But I esteem the local management. That's why I spent 3 years by bringing leadership to Japan to feel Suntory, to feel our ways to do business, and sent our middle management to their middle management to mix, not to the top, not to the senior management. And I thought that that's the best way, considering the stake, which was so high, not from only the debt level, but also U.S. icon, that is bourbon.
So control the urge to be the hero leader and be patient, persistent with creating a wave of support and a momentum of support by bringing them to Japan to understand the values and the spirit, and then sending some of our folks, but at middle level where things get done.
Exactly.
Tak, one question I have to ask. So clearly, I sense, of course, this incredible Suntory connection with nature, giving back to society. One of the also elements you have in your strategy is growing for good. So I hear that. And of course, part of what you do also is alcohol, which is a product that has a number of benefits, but also a number of regrettable side effects. How do you deal with that aspect?
That's another great question. We believe that we have to rely on our effort to reduce the average, economy class of spirits beverage, which means we've been shifting toward the premiumization. So less drinking, but premium drinking. So less amount of alcohol, but more relaxation, more comfortable drinking by drinking great brands. So Jim Beam itself is more or less standard, but we've been trying to premiumize because of the potential to by the upgrading its quality, for example. So less drink, but we can enjoy the more than revenue we've got before. So that's our strategy.
Now, let me move to this notion of purpose. So clearly, you have been active, and the company had been active in terms of managing your own footprint on the environment, and we discussed already water and plastics. More generally, you have been advocating a new form of capitalism. You've been saying, look, the world as we know it clearly has generated a lot of wealth and prosperity, and that has had positive effects all over the world. Hundreds of millions of people have been lifted out of poverty, but clearly this global capitalism has also generated a number of dysfunctions, and I think by all accounts today is not ecologically sustainable and probably also not socially sustainable. So please share with us your views on this new capitalism that you're advocating.
Right. I wonder, and I asked myself, if capitalism is in danger or not. Is that the right system? Yes, you're right. It's been creating inequality in our society, in many countries, and a byproduct of conventional capitalism created huge inequality, social divide. Even now in Japan, that's been going on. So we have to fix it. And how we can fix, I think it's a right time, because we started to talk about sustainability, how to live with this great globe, with the abundance of nature. But it's been under challenge. So new capitalism is to redistribute wealth and less use of natural resources of this world. So how to align both less resources and not hurting this beautiful globe and how to redistribute wealth to those who are in poverty. I think those are measures we have to do to fix capitalism. I believe the value of capitalism. Capitalism is sustained by freedom of expression and thought. That is vital to keep innovating and keep our life together with our nature in right direction. So we have to fix lots of things because of the capitalism. But I don't know what is new capitalism yet. But we have to start to discuss what to do. And we are ready because just like COP26, people got to know we got to do something together for the sake of the world to be saved by our concerted effort. So I strongly believe the world has begun toward the something different structure. We talked about what to do with the authoritarian capitalism. Is it good or not to give the relief to those in poverty? Or liberal democratic capitalism is good, like the United States? I don't think that's the right model. Then what about our social democratic social democratic capitalism? Is that good? I don't know. Innovation is far less than that of states, for example. So, but we have to talk to each other. What is the best model for a country? Because it should be different from country to country. And but wisdom is already here, talking to each other to pursue what is a new capitalism to fix problems.
I'm also thinking, but beyond the discussions about the general system, there's also an increasing urgency for the world, particularly to reduce its carbon footprint.
In our country, Japan, we completed the program to replenish it twice as much as we used. And we are now taking this program to other countries where we produce our products. And giving back to society, as one of giving back to society projects, not only the greenhouse emission gas emitting reduction programs, but we think much of circular economy, like plastics. That's a huge headache, as a matter of fact. But we know that PET bottles, we call plastic bottles, that is hurting ocean. And it's a really, huge issue. In terms of biodiversity, that creates a danger to the humankinds, not only humankinds, but also other species. We brought new technology from a venture in the United States, and we are now working on an application of the technology to produce plastic components from wasted plastics, for example. So we brought partners across the industry, sometimes from our competitors, to work together to make that happen. And the technology will be transferred to ASEAN countries in the near future so that we can work together to resolve ocean pollution together because of the plastics. So those actions are already have been done and creating performance. And we are so afraid of being called greenwashing. So that's why action-oriented is our motto. And it's been our historical idea. That is always we have to try and we have to get things done. That's one of founders' spirit of Suntory.
one last question on this particular aspect. How easy or how difficult is it to cooperate with competitors? Because what you mentioned here is part of the solution in many industries. It's difficult for each of us to act, but if we manage to create enough coordination within an industry, then we can achieve more. So how easy or how difficult is it for you to coalesce with your competitors?
That's a great question. 15 years ago, we worked with the Japan Coke for direction to collect used plastic bottles together with Japan's Coke. Instead of asking the municipalities to work with us, it didn't take a lot of time because both parties, Coke is number one, Suntory number two. We thought that this is not the turf for us to compete together. And good competition is always, price cut and innovative, action to compete. This part is our own turf. So, 15 years ago already we've done. And now we brought Asahi Beer to work together for the sake of the application of plastic sustainability program. So I think because of the huge awareness toward the sustainable world, I think it's much easier nowadays. Well, we could make an example 15 years ago, but over years, nothing had been done. But we had experience, so we knew that this is not the area where we fight and continue to compete.
And I think the key point that you made here is, let's agree that we compete on 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Maybe this is not an area where we can compete or we should compete. Maybe the benefits to society of us coordinating are greater. So we talk about carbon neutral in 2050. By the way, we're not exactly progressing super well or super fast in that direction. And it's easy for leaders who will be, retired in 2050 to say this. But again, if you look at the numbers, it doesn't look like it's going there. So how do we accelerate this progress? You, of course, have the benefit of a family ownership that has a long-term perspective. But if I'm the CEO of a listed company today, or if I'm the leader of a business unit in a listed company, how do I think of the need for the world to accelerate decarbonization in a world where the regulatory framework is not yet making it very easy?
I think two key stakeholders. One is consumers and society. They are great stakeholders. Now, thinking more of a sustainable world, like greenhouse gas emission should be zero, zero. Second key stakeholder is financial world. Money itself, it matters anyway. And the financial world is now under the huge re-engineering toward the investing to sustainability support and sustainability initiatives. I think that's the right thing. Instead of long-lasting financial capitalism, which always was and still is greedy, too greedy, I think to create the tension between the rich and the poor. I think the financial world is very important to create incentives to general managers, CEOs. So I think after the Lehman shock, I was more or less disappointed with the financial world. But there are so many good leaders emerging to have started to say we have to change. Still, I would say they are minority, but their voice is rising. More. Creating echoes from their peers. I think this is the right timing. Instead of asking for just making money in the short term. So I think the financial world is a very important stakeholder to push forward this sustainable world to carry over to the generations to come.
And so are, as you said, consumers and of course also employees who increasingly hold their leaders accountable for their role in this process. Tag, quickly, a few questions about you, and two in particular. As it turns out, you did your MBA at the time and the place where I happened to do my PhD. So we could have met there. We didn't at the time, but we could have. Concretely, you did your MBA at Harvard Business School, 89 to 91, which were probably some of the heydays of the liberal, capitalistic, go-go, private equity, KKR sort of world. And first question for you, how big of a shock was it when you arrived from Japan into that world?
Well, Japan was enjoying prosperity at that time. So there was no shocking moment for me. However, I was so surprised that money making was not under the ethics, more or less. After a few years since I graduated from B school, I think Enron shock happened, led by the many Harvard graduates, and I was not shocked. I was not amazed, because what we learned is we have to buy cheap and sell high.
Okay. So that you said that you were okay with, but you were surprised by the limited attention to the ethical side.
Exactly. Because I thought that before going there, ethics and greed should work together. Greed means, always animal spirit is needed for innovation, and that creates something valuable. And greedy means, to some extent, I think it's needed. But on the other side, ethics. So how to balance, align. It's integrity of a general manager, CEO. That's what I believed, the right thing. But wasn't discussed so much. But there was a class in my first year, ethics, business ethics, but wasn't credited class. That was a big surprise, in a sense.
And of course, within Suntory, there is a strong focus on integrity, which is connected to the spirit of the founder, I guess.
Exactly. I think always we believe long-term commitment to society means integrity of people, leaders of the company, and that creates a sustainable business, which means a healthy business. And longevity is everything. For the sake of our employees, their families, and how to live together forever, which means we should be appreciated by society. That's Suntory.
Give me one or two things that you personally do, either on a daily or a weekly or regularly, but some things that you do that as an employee, I would recognize and I would say, yeah, TAC really wants us to do this. TAC really emphasizes this ethical side. What would be one or two visible actions or symbols?
Oh, simple. I am the evangelist of the founding spirit, and I'm seen by everybody of Suntory, entire organization. I have to represent the value of the company, even though I'm from outside of the family. That's my mission. So value sometimes does not stay easily. Sometimes that goes away because of the lots of crisis, which difficulties, and people tend to feel, wow, we have to do this and that with a huge panic. But always they have to watch their leader, and that leader shows integrity based on the core value of the company. So I try to be very much performing based on the core value of the company.
So the way you speak, you talk about them a lot, and also you're saying also embodying those values myself.
Exactly. And that's my way to be a leader of the company. And I've been CEO for almost close to 30 years. And always I'm finding that's a role, eminent role for CEO. Always you have to show the value of the company. You are the guy. You have to be the person to always represent the value of the company. That's a huge pressure. It's not that easy.
I was about to ask you, I was about to say, and are there days where you feel weaker? How do you manage yourself to be always centered, grounded, focused?
In front of our people, I have to play as a main actor. Behind the scene, so exhausted. With my family, I'm very tired. And my family knows I'm playing a key role as the main actor in front of people. But once I'm away from the stage, I'm so exhausted. I'm a humankind.
But this is such an important point that you're making, TAC, because very often people say, CEOs must be authentic. But authentic sometimes means that I would be authentically bad-tempered or authentically tired. And the organization does not need the CEO to be authentically bad-tempered or authentically tired. So being authentic as a CEO means being authentic, being connected to the values, but then also managing our state so that we can indeed come across as representing those values. And that requires, you use the word actor, it requires managing one's state. And this is, I think, a very important point that you make. Too often people think, that's not authentic. No, it is still authentic because you are passionately connected to the family values and to the company values, but you're also managing your temporary state. TAC, I want to thank you very much for taking the time to be with us. And I look forward to being able to travel to Japan and see you there, or maybe in some other location. Thank you again, and all the best to you.
Thank you, Jean-Francois. And I look forward to meeting with you in person in Japan. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I enjoyed talking with you. Thank you very much.